Right, so I'm pretty confident that the people who watch these videos are big fans of indie animation. And if not, then well, I don't know why you're here. It's basically all I do. But that being said, even amongst the most grass-deprived members of my audience, there are certain pieces of media that tend to fall through the cracks. Things that will get lost in the algorithm despite being incredible displays of animation talent and fantastic writing. Having something like that happen to your passion project is incredibly demoralizing, and can often cause creators to quit out on their dreams altogether. That's why when Righteous Robot released their short film GRUFF last weekend, I was stoked to see the amount of support it got, because this little paper animation is a masterpiece in visual storytelling, with a lesson that shows the viewer how to value their relationships and a message to other creators on how to do so much more with less than you want. For those of you who haven't seen this animation yet, it's in the description, up there in the iCard, and is the first result if you type GRUFF into the search bar. I would highly recommend you go watch it, but for the purpose of this video, I'll give a quick summary anyway. GRUFF is a short story made using physical paper sets and characters that tells the tale of a young girl struggling with the fact that her grandfather isn't outwardly affectionate towards her, instead choosing to watch a Western show on the TV. In an attempt to comfort her, the girl's mother tells the story of her own life as a government spy, and how she had a similar problem with her dad's lack of affection, that ultimately led them to becoming distant. An injury scare forces their reunification in the hospital, where the mother realizes that love and affection do not only have to be expressed through words, and the value of those we love is in their actions instead of their voice. The daughter takes this knowledge with her to a later date, where she manages to comfort her mother after the funeral of the grandfather, showing that even though he may be gone from the physical world, his love and actions are always there to help and support the family. For having a runtime of just over 9 minutes, writer and director Julian Curie is able to tell a remarkably complete story. The journey of both understanding and accepting the grandfather's actions is one that the characters go through with the viewer, which leads to a remarkable sense of connection and intimacy in spite of the highly stylized characters. I will take a second to talk about the style of this film. It is completely unique compared to almost anything I've seen from animation, being a live shot mixed with some stop motion and green screening, all on physical sets with mechanical characters. While it's obvious that the budget here isn't exactly extensive, it still manages to portray body language very well, and the movements are fluid enough to allow your brain to fill in those gaps. For me, this is a testament to the fact that you don't need over-the-top graphics, you don't need super detailed animation, and you don't need billion-dollar actors to make a good story. In fact, you sitting there on your bed about to drop your phone can make something that I'd watch over Marvel Phase 4. There's really only one thing you do need, and that's good writing. Curie's writing carries this film on its back. It's a very sophisticated and thought-out style, and it's able to squeeze out a large amount of meaning with very few words, on top of doing the majority of the work under the guise of telling a child their bedtime story. It also leaves plenty of room for the visuals to command the viewer's attention, instead of forcing them to listen to an audiobook of exposition. This choice embodies the message of the show itself, that you shouldn't be focusing only on what's being said, but instead on what is actually being done. The words per minute of this film make a reaction channel look like Busta Rhymes, but each one is intentionally placed. There's no filler, nothing there doesn't need to be said, and everything that is adds something meaningful to the story, displaying a level of competency in writing that would put a lot of Hollywood to shame. However, it is here that I'll give my criticisms. The first being the only unnecessary part of this short film, the Hazbin character. He gets no lines of dialogue, only appears within the last 2 minutes of the film, and exists solely to stand at the end of the aisle and push this button. Yes, the idea of having your father walk you down the aisle is a very powerful and very important one, which doesn't really work if there's no husband, or wife, I don't judge, for you to get married to. But given that the rest of the writing is so tight-knit, it stands out as a little bit pointless in comparison to everything else that's going on. If you wanted this character to be a part of the story, then he should have been introduced much earlier in it. My other issue with GRUFF is a more technical one, in the form of the audio quality of the Western cartoon. I'll get to my thoughts on it specifically in just a second, but almost all of the voice lines from it are distorted or difficult to hear. I had to turn subtitles on to figure out what was happening, and I missed some key pieces of information in my first viewing. These distorted voices also being the first thing you hear from the film might put off some viewers and cause them to click away. This is due to a classic YouTube idea. It doesn't matter what your visuals look like, if your audio sucks, people won't watch. But to the Western itself, it's a fairly obvious parody of their real life situation. You have the grandfather dangerous sheriff who's renowned for not talking, the little girl who's been held hostage, and the evil outlaw, with an emphasis on words being more useful than actions. While it doesn't take Einsteinery level smarts to figure out what's going on here, using this Western story as a way to break up the main plot and provide another perspective on things helps to draw a much more complete picture of the message Curie is presenting. While I wish it was taken a little bit more seriously, having it there is a definite improvement on the story, and it sets up a brilliant final scene, which I'm going to play for you now.
I don't know what I'd do without my oar.
Neither do I, Bonita. We're lucky he looks out for us.
And I always will.
That shot is what made this great for me. The idea that even when a person is gone from the land of the living, their actions, their passion, and their love for those around them will always be there to protect. It's a message that is really comforting, not only for myself, but to many other people who've seen this. And that's why I have to say, Gruff is one of the best short stories I've ever seen.